welcome to our Springbok team announcement. We've got head coach Jacques Nienaber and Grant Williams. Please just raise your hand to ask questions, and then we will keep Afrikaans for the last 10 minutes.
Jacques, maybe start with just your thinking behind the squad. It looks like a squad that's going to try and run the ball quite a bit.
I don't know. If it's a squad that will run the ball. That will probably be determined by what Argentina gives us in terms of defense. But no, I think, like we've mentioned last week, the key for us is obviously to balance performance and building and getting momentum within the squad on the field, but also balancing that with the fact that we want to get as much or spread as much minutes across the squad that we have as much as possible. And the key thing for us is to try and balance that between getting performance out of the team and winning matches, but also spreading the load between the players.
Your back three there, some people might say you're going in with two very short wingers and that the aerial game is going to be quite important there. Just your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, listen, I think probably one of the big things that we spoke about in our review was our kicking game against New Zealand, and obviously we were found a little bit short, which was probably out of character for us in terms of the contestable kicking game that New Zealand launched on us. And funny enough, that is one of the strengths of Argentina. They've got a very good contestable kicking game. So it's almost a double-edged sword. It's something we want to fix from New Zealand, but also something that we will have to fix playing against Argentina, because it's one of their strengths.
Just lastly from me, just on your halfback combination and Grant starting as well, just your thoughts on that. Has he played himself obviously into that spot? And then just about the rest of the scrum of Jaden and Herschel with their situations.
Yeah, I think firstly let's start with the other scrum-halves. I think we're fortunate, that we have 5 really quality scrum-halves. And I think somebody asked me also during the week about Grant, and I think Grant, obviously the 2 games that he came off the bench, it's not only that, it's last year when he didn't get opportunity, where he was probably number 4, number 5 in the pecking order because the other guys were all fit and they got game time and they got a break. How he trained, how he performed for his franchise. So it's not only, how did Grant do during the last 2 test matches that he came off the bench. It is what he did since he's been in the mix with us, and that probably, and he's always been a guy that gave it his all, and he probably deserves the opportunity. And through things that happened to other scrum-halves, he got the opportunity now, and he's definitely putting up his hand there.
Grant, just those from your side, you can starting how pleased are you to just get a lot to start on Saturday?
It's an awesome opportunity. First of all, I think, like Coach Johnson said now, I had to wait my turn, and finally I can go out there on Saturday and hopefully nail my role and help the team get a result. That's the most important thing.
Yeah. Questions, guys?
Coach, just on the hooker situation, you've now swapped them around again. But is there a growing sense that perhaps you're going to have to, for the World Cup, with that in mind, that you're going to have to settle on one as your starting hooker, and that is going to be the person that takes the team forward in that position?
No, I think in terms of hooker, other positions, bomb squad, I think obviously if you look at the amount of game minutes that Bongi had, he's probably had a little bit more minutes, test match exposure than Malcolm, obviously, because he was playing in the 2 games. So, and again, it comes back to the thing. I think if we as a group know that defending the World Cup will take a squad effort, and our challenge is to make sure that we spread that load between the squad. We don't want to go in cold against Scotland in that first game of the World Cup. and with one or two guys having the majority of the match minutes, and then if you pick up an injury or two, you're bringing a guy in who's cold, who hasn't been part of you. So I think that's the balance that we would like to have. You don't want one guy taking 80% of the minutes and the other guy not getting a lot of opportunities. So we're trying to balance that. And again, sometimes it does come at a bit of a risk, but we believe that the team that we selected for Australia was good enough to beat Australia. We believe that the team that we selected for New Zealand was good enough to beat New Zealand. And I think we knew they're going to be probably a little bit cold going into that game because a lot of them haven't played rugby for a long time. And I thought they got a little bit stronger as the game went on. And now we've got a game, the team that we selected to play against Argentina, we believe is good enough to play against Argentina.
That just does also, that brings up the question of Joseph and possibly even Dion. Where do they then fit into that, getting game time and all of that? Where do they fit into that plan then?
Yeah, no, listen, obviously the guys that haven't had exposure yet, it would be nice to give them a little bit, to give them a go in the next couple of games that we have left, which will be Argentina away and then Wales and New Zealand. It would be great if that can be, but there's a lot of things that will determine that, momentum, form, injuries and stuff like that.
Coach, firstly, good afternoon, Coach, just take us through Marco Baja, the Marco Baja selection. Marco started against Australia, played well. Baja also had decent, but just take us through that particular selection conundrum.
Yeah, again, and I know it's probably going to sound like a broken record, but again, it's exactly what I said now. If you think, I think Kwacha was one of the guys. I think he probably played rugby 12 weeks before last Saturday. He left Japan with an injury prematurely. So again, it's getting him exposed to rugby, but also Marco. Marco had probably a little bit a game time a little bit longer or deeper into the season than a guy like Kwacha. That's probably the one thing. If you look at Super Rugby, Super Rugby has played up to, let's say, 2 weeks or a week before we started in the Rugby Championship, which is because we play our rugby in the Northern Hemisphere. We actually end our competitions are finishing the end of May, I think. So there's quite some time before we go into Rugby Championship, and that's what we trying to explain by saying, listen, we know the players are going to go into the competition a little bit colder because of us applying our trade in the Northern Hemisphere, which is a little bit different than the Southern Hemisphere guys. So I think, and that's the key thing for us, to use these games, yes, to try and get performances, and yes, to win Rugby Championship, and who knows, maybe Australia will do us a favour on the weekend, and but yeah, that's the key thing that we're trying to get right.
Just to follow up, has the early end of the Japan season either messed up or actually helped the preparation? Because you've now, as explained on Thursday and explaining today, you've now had to weigh up whether the guys who played in Japan need a bit more game time as compared to the guys who are late into the season.
No, they finished the same time as the URC. Their competition finishes exactly the same time as the URC. It's only the top 14 in the Northern Hemisphere that continued later. So the URC Premiership and the Japan League, they all finished at the same time. I think under correction, I think the top 14 went a week or 2 weeks later than those two, than the other competition in the Northern Hemisphere. So no, they finished at exactly the same time. I'm just saying they're finishing prematurely to Super Rugby. Super Rugby carries on up to 2 weeks before the Rugby Championship, which is just the Southern Hemisphere competition, and we're playing in the Northern Hemisphere competition. Just look, it's got pros and cons. The pros is your players get a little bit of a break of collisions. The cons are they're probably going to be a little bit cold going into a competition. But I think if you look at, I think we got stronger during the game against New Zealand. Same thing happened with us on the end of year tour last year when we went into into Ireland. They played European rugby the weekend before, where a lot of our guys haven't been played any rugby since after Rugby Championship. So it's just where we are, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing. There's pros and cons to it, but just to give you a bit of a backdrop.
Jacques, one of the interesting themes to have emerged in these past few weeks is that you were quite emphatic before the Australian game that you said Dwayne can actually fulfill both roles. You know, you guys are comfortable. You know that he can be a starter who can play 80, you can come on as an impact. So I'm not saying that you necessarily feel vindicated because you obviously had faith in him, but just how chuffed are you with how he's been basically answering every question essentially that's been asked of them in the past 3 weeks on the field?
Dwayne,
yeah.
No, listen, Dwayne. I asked him on Friday. I think I asked him the players. I think I've been working with Dwayne since 2006, and I think Caden is 4 years old there. So we come a long way, as with some of the other players. So yeah, I'm happy for him, and that's Dwayne I know, and I've learned to know over from 2006 to now.
And just a quick follow up. I know it's a difficult and controversial question, but is he another example again that the broader rugby fraternity is still inclined to be a bit too biased against older guys, and that they tend to write them off a bit quicker than they really should?
Yes, I don't think I'm
not clearly not from your side.
I don't know. I don't know if I don't know. In the Northern Hemisphere, there's players that will play up to 40, and older. I don't know how old the one is currently, but I mean, I think it depends. If you look at the professionalism of players now and how they look after their bodies and how they manage themselves, I think it's different than it was when I started in Super Rugby in 1999. And I think it's probably the players are more professional now. They look after their bodies, and that's why I think their careers last a little bit longer.
Thank you.
Yes. You mentioned the first couple of games in the Rugby Championship was 6-2, 1-5-3 here. Is that a case of this is specific to Argentina, or is it something you also want to inculcate with the players, get them used to? That listen, Rugby World Cup comes along, you've got to be flexible like that.
No, 100%. I think going with a 6-2 or 5-3 bench. There's a lot of things that we discuss before team selection, and you're 100% right. The opposition plays a big role in terms of what we think we're going to get from them, and also in terms of what our plans are. So that and we have to be flexible as a squad. Our plans won't necessarily be the same week in, week out because of the opposition that we face. So, and then there's other roles, medical roles. If you sit with a player that maybe carries a little bit of a bump of the previous weekend, and you want to have injury cover for him, you're not 100% sure that he might finish the game. Or you doubt something like that, then it might affect your decision. So I'm just using it as an example. It's not just it's team, the opposition we play. It's what we want to achieve as a team. But there's also other external factors that have an influence. Are we going to go 5-3 or 6-2?
Congratulations, Grant, on your first start.
Thank you so much.
You've obviously made a big impact as a guy coming off the bench when the game has opened up a bit. Your pace and your eye for the gap. How has it gone this week, though, in terms of preparation for actually starting a game? I mean, there's obviously more game management issues that come into it. Obviously, kicking game, that sort of thing.
I think it's been awesome. We had our kicking game session yesterday, so I think going forward we still have a couple more sessions left. But like I said, it's been awesome. I think the biggest thing for us or for myself is to nail my role. Like I said before, I just need to nail my role on Saturday and make sure that the team goes forward.
John, adding to that, are you confident that there's enough experience around Grant and Monty on Saturday?
Yeah, I think if you look at it, that's probably one of the strengths of our squad. I mean, there's strengths and weaknesses, but one of the strengths I would say is probably if you look at the team, if you look at the pack, there's some good experience there. even with the guys coming off the bench. You know, there's a lot of experience. And again, experience, yes, I think Grant probably on 3 tests now in his first start, but experience is something that our job is to give him during the week, to give him as much exposure of what he's going to get on Saturday, so that he's happy and comfortable in the role that he has to fulfill, so that he doesn't have to think about that. He can just bring out his natural given talent and the thing that makes him special. Yes, there's a role that he has to fulfill, but there's also something that Grant brings to the table that makes him special. That's a Grant Williams thing. And so nail your role, experience what you're going to get on Saturday from the opposition and from your teammates, and then bring out your thing that you bring to the game.
Sorry, Grant, just to go back to you. I'm not sure how long ago it was, but it was maybe 2 or 3 years ago, where I think you were just playing club rugby. So, can you just reflect on what's actually been quite an incredible journey, especially over the last couple of years?
Yeah, I've played club rugby after school, 2014. So I ended up at College Rovers in Durban. I think perseverance will probably be the biggest thing that I'll say that's installed in me. And it got me to this point, and I'm extremely grateful. Yeah.
Hi, Coach. Just looking at your, I'm sure you obviously had a lot of thought process to go through, the centre pairing especially. Someone like Jesse Creel isn't played. Was talking about how he wants to get his run in this weekend to sort of prove his worth in the World Cup. But someone like under 18 season, for example, had a good game against Australia. Are you then perhaps saying that you're satisfied with where he is and what you've seen, and now you just, your thought process, just giving other guys a chance to ensure that everybody gets equal game time?
Yeah, that's the big thing. And the thing is about Jesse, I don't know how many people know, but he actually, unfortunately, in Japan, he got suspended. So he wasn't up for selection for the first couple of games. So obviously, we had to wait for his suspension to be lifted before we could consider him for selection. And between Andre and Damien Dalenda, I think, it's just managing the game time with the two. Andre have had a go with Marnie before, and Damien will have a go with Marnie now. So it's just getting combinations, different combinations, and spreading, like I've mentioned now, spreading trying to spread the game load amongst the squad. Because I think, if you think about it, we probably 39 fit players here currently in this group. And if you think the World Cup squad is going to be 33, so there's actually only 6 guys that's operating here that will not go to the World Cup. So the guys who's here, and as we know, if you think back in 2019, within the first game there was 2 injuries. So of that 6 guys that's currently training here, that's fit, that let's say won't make the World Cup squad, probably 2 of them, a third, is going to go to the World Cup in anyway. So it is important for us to make sure that we get everybody, if it's possible, and that's in a plastic perfect world. If it's possible, you would like to get everybody experience in game minutes as much as you can.
On a lighter note, Coach, sorry, Zina. Banyana lost their first World Cup match against Sweden. You guys know a thing or two about losing the first World Cup match. What sort of advice or encouragement or message would you like to send to the girls ahead of their second match, which coincidentally happened to be against Japan? I mean,
Argentina. Yes. Listen, I think they had a sterling performance. I mean, they lost at the end. You know, so it was a very competitive game. And the thing is just to focus on the. I would say when we lost against New Zealand, you create your own reality in terms of where you are, and just to stay focused and steadfast on your plan at hand, what you had drawn up before, and just to stay steadfast on that.
Last English question, Ross.
Jacques, how many players are you planning on sending to Argentina next week? And while you say, you're trying to spread the load across the squad, are you also now looking at trying to sort of get the core together and giving them as much game time as they can going into the World Cup, or do you think you may make quite a large amount of changes for next week's game?
Yeah, next week, I think for us traveling there, we'll definitely won't take all 40. I mean, it's just, you'll fly there with a jet lag and then you'll spend 3 or 4 days there and then 2-3 days training, play a test match on Saturday and then fly back. I think we'll probably go with a squad around about 26, 20, obviously 23 players that we will select, and then you'll have to take an extra prop. You'll have to take an extra hooker, because if somebody gets ill or get an injury, the test match can't happen if you don't have backups for them. And then we'll probably take an extra back. But I don't want to limit it to 26. There might be injuries and injury concerns, so we might be 27 or 28. But it won't be 35 guys going. So yes, that's the plan for going to Argentina. And hopefully we can build good momentum in this test match, and then it would be nice to give guys that haven't had a lot of time yet, or haven't had a game yet. It would be nice to give them a go against Argentina in Argentina, which will be a very tough game as well.
Okay, cool guys. We can switch back to English if there's time, but let's do Afrikaans first. Percy?
Jacques, goedemiddag, baie dankie sien Jacques, baie goedemiddag aan Grant. Jacques, ek vra myself te gedra as ek 'n mondvol kan praat om verskoning af te neem. Ek kry een kans aan. Jacques, ek wil eers vra, hoe gaan 'n bietjie jou denkwyse agter jou 23 tal? Wat hoop jy om uit hierdie wedstryd teen Argentinië te kry? Soos jy gesê het, jy hoop vir 'n gunsie uit die Australië en Nieu-Seeland wedstryd. So wat hoop jy om uit die wedstryd te kry? En laastens, ek weet jy het verlede gesê jy is nie 'n emosionele mens nie, maar die realiteit is hierdie komende Saterdag by Elspark is waarskynlik as jou amptelike laaste wedstryd as nasionale afdruk op tuisbodem. Is jy bietjie emosioneel daaroor? En Grant, kan ek net vir jou vra terselfdertyd? Jy het gedeeltelik in Engels my vraag beantwoord. Jy het 'n bietjie van 'n rollercoaster van 'n ride as jy uit Engels verduidelik het. Die laaste seisoen sien ons hoe die televisieskerms hardop wanneer jy het baie goeie seisoene op in die UFC gehad. Wie is Grant Williams? Waar kom jy vandaan en hoekom is jy so 'n geduldige mens? En veral op jou nasionale vlak.
Kan ek eens gaan? Wacht, dis ek nou mooi ding. Die eerste wat jy gevra het was my denkwyse agter die 23. Ja, Percy, ek dink die belangrike ding vir ons is alhoewel ons wil wen en momentum bou, want dis die maklikste manier om confidence in jou groep te kry. Wil ons ook seker maak dat ons die hoeveelheid wedstrydminute wat ons het soveel as moontlik. Het gaan nie altyd perfek wees nie, maar ons wil hierdie groep wat ons hier het, wil ons soveel as moontlik minute gee, dat almal rugby gereed is, as ek dit so kan sê, as ons teen Skotland speel in die wêreldbeker. Ons glo as 'n groep dat om die wêreldbeker te verdedig, gaan 'n groep poging vat, jy weet, en ek het vroeër genoem, ons is tans 39 fikse spelers wat hier oefen. So as jy mooi dink, 33 van wêreldbeker toe, en daar's tans fikse ouens, is daar net 6 ouens wat dit nie gaan maak nie. En ons het gesien in die vorige wêreldbeker, in die eerste wedstryd het ons 2 spelers verloor. So geskiedenis sê vir ons dat van daai 6 ouens wat nie gekies word vir die wêreldbeker nie, kan daar heel moontlik 30% van hulle gaan ook opeindig en in die wêreldbeker speel. So vir ons is dit belangrik om seker te maak dat almal blootstelling kry. Soveel as moontlik blootstelling, en ek sê wees sonder, daar's altyd 'n bietjie risiko met dit verbonde, maar ons glo dat die span wat ons gekies het is goed genoeg om Argentinië te wen. En dan oor die emosionele ding, ek is nie 'n baie emosionele persoon, dink ek nie, maar Percy, dit is as jy vat, ek dink die eerste keer wat ek die bokke afgerig het op enige nasionale vlak, ek dink was in 2004, die SA span wat Argentinië toe gegaan het, snaaks genoeg. En toe die eerste keer die senior span was in 2011, jy weet, 'n ou werk so hard en jy hoop en jy glo, jy gaan net dalk eendag net een toets by die bokke wees, en miskien as dinge goed gaan, kan jy na wêreldbeker toe gaan. So vir my persoonlik om deel te wees van 3 wêreldbekers is ongelooflik, jy weet, dit is 'n droom. Ek was eintlik net 'n fisio gewees in Bloemfontein. So dis meer as 'n droom wat in my lewe waar geword het. So en ek het vir die spelers gesê dat luister, dis hoe persoonlik ek dit vat om hulle af te rig en vir hulle te werk. Dis lekker om vir hulle te werk. Jy weet hulle maak jou bly Saterdag. Dis lekker. Maar so dit gaan 'n bietjie emosioneel wees dink ek. Maar dis nie te sê dis hopelik is dit nie te sê dat dit die laaste keer is nie. Mense weet nooit wat vorentoe gebeur nie. Ek bedoel baie dinge gebeur in rugby. So ou weet nooit.
Ja, presies. Ek is van die Kaap, Parel. Ja, ek dink ek het dit nou in Engels geantwoord, maar ek dink ek het die geduld gehad van Club Rugby af om my eerste popkamp was in 2021. Ek dink dit was 'n blessing in disguise om mee so gou te speel nie, want ek dink ek was reg. Ek dink ek het finally kan ek sê ek is gereed om internasionale rugby te speel en dit veg baie om deur alles te fight en tot by die punt te kom, maar ek is dankbaar vir die geleentheid eerstens en dan vir die management om my te back om te speel die naweek, asook Australië en New Zealand en ja, ek is net dankbaar vir die opportunity, vir die geleentheid.
Waar is jou goeie seisoen toe, die Afrika seisoen?
Sorry?
Waar aanskryf jy jou goeie seisoen toe?
Ek dink ek is vir die eerste keer gesond, as ek dit so stel. Ek het baie niggles gehad, ek dink Mani kan verduidelik, want hy was ook by die Sharks. Maar ek het baie gesukkel met klein goedjies en dit is die eerste keer wat ek 'n seisoen speel sonder enige besering en dit is ook 'n blessing vir my.
We'll take the last question on there.
Dankie. Jacques, vir jou, jy het net nou gepraat daaroor in Engels, net vir in Afrikaans net vra 'n bietjie meer daaroor uit te brei. Eerstens oor die Japaneese spelers, die JC en Faf. Is jy tevrede dat die standaard van rugby wat hulle daar speel, hulle in staat stel om jou in staat te stel om hulle in te blend, of moet ek luister na wat jy gesê het oor die wedstrydfiksheid, die kondisionering en soos wat 'n toernooi sal aangaan of die wedstryde sal aangaan, hulle beter sal word? Ek wil net hê eers my daai deel antwoord, maar wil ek 'n tweede deel vra oor die opvolgwedstryd volgende naweek teen die Argentyne in Argentinië.
Ja, ek dink as 'n ou kyk, ja, eerstens die standaard van die Japaneese liga. Ek dink en my nie verkeerd verstaan is al wat ek probeer sê het van die Japan liga. Hy eindig dieselfde tyd as wat die URC eindig, wat Premiership rugby eindig. So wanneer Andre hulle klaar gemaak het, wanneer Kitsie hulle klaar gemaak het, wat vir die Stormers gespeel het, wanneer Grant hulle klaar gemaak het, die Japaneese liga eindig dieselfde tyd. Wat anders is as Super Rugby. Super Rugby gaan nog 4 weke aan na dit. Hulle eindig net 2 weke voor rugby kampioenskappe. So dan die kwaliteit van die kompetisie van die Japaneese liga. Ek dink as 'n ou gaan kyk na ou soos Pieter Steff en hoe hy speel en 'n ou gaan kyk na ou soos Malcolm en 'n ou gaan kyk na Loot hulle. Ek dink dis 'n ander kompetisie. So ek dink dis hulle die vaardighede wat hulle daaraan blootgestel word, is miskien bietjie anderste as in URC. Dis maar net hoe hulle die kompetisie speel. Wat vir ons 'n goeie ding is, jy weet, ons hou daarvan dat hulle vaardighede op 'n ander manier ontwikkel word daar as wat dit sal wees in URC, as wat dit is in top 14, as wat dit is in Super Rugby. So ja, nee, ek dink daar's niks fout met daai kompetisie nie. En dan
Tweede vraag wil ek net vra op die opvolg op wat jy Engels gevra het. Jy sê dat in Argentinië is daar moontlikheid dat die ouens wat nog nie gespeel het, nie speelgeleentheid gekry het nie, dat hulle waarskynlik oorweeg sal word.
Ja.
Gaan jy hierdie wedstryd wat Saterdag kom eksperimenteer met hierdie span of volgende naweek eksperimenteer met die span?
Nee, ek dink nie dis eksperimenteer nie. Ek dink ons het vooraf besluit ons wil, soos ek gesê het, ons probeer soveel as moontlik minute kry en hierdie minute, as jy vat, hoeveel het ons 4 wedstryde in rugby kampioenskappe, om soveel as moontlik om dit so naby as moontlik gelyk te verdeel onder die spelers. Dis nie moontlik. Dis onmoontlik as jy sit met 42 spelers. Maar ons probeer so ver as moontlik dit doen. Ek sal sê, ja, dit sal lekker wees om die ouens wat nog nie geleentheid te kry nie, om hulle volgende naweek 'n wedstryd te gee, want obviously hulle oefen die hele tyd al saam met ons, so ek dink hulle verdien 'n kans, ja. Maar dit is nie net so eenvoudig soos dit nie, dit gaan oor beserings, dit gaan oor kombinasies, dit gaan oor 'n klomp ander goeders, maar as dit, kom ons sê in die perfekte wêreld, as alles volgens plan verloop, soos dit moet verloop, dan sal dit lekker wees om hulle 'n kans te gee.
Thank you very much, guys.